So, hi everyone, we are here at KubeCon EU in London, and here I'm with my really good friend Marino. Marino, do you want to give a quick introduction?
Hey everyone, my name is Marino Wijay. I'm a solutions architect at a company called Khan. I'm also a CNCF ambassador right here. So I spend a lot of time in the community talking about network technologies, platform engineering, service mesh CNI, as well as really like helping the community understand where these kinds of technologies are going, especially in the age of AI and what we do to make that possible.
Yeah. So, I think like one of the three main trends that you have seen at this conference has been AI, observability, and of course platform engineering. Now, since you come with a lot of background in platform engineering, would you mind sharing on any of the thoughts around what are the growing trends these days around platform engineering, whether it's at KubeCon and or in general with companies adopting platform engineering?
So one of the biggest trends with respect to platform engineering is about people and processes. So we have all this tooling that's available to us so that we can take advantage of these platforms. But the idea of platform engineering isn't, hey, let's integrate a bunch of things together and make it work. It's building a process around it that allows different teams within an organization to use these repeatable pipelines, for example, to stand up not only a Kubernetes infrastructure with the associated storage, networking, and compute requirements, but also align to the policy guardrails, to align to compliance needs, and to also ensure that observability is instrumented correctly. Because on the other side of platform engineering, you have site operations or reliability engineering, where if you don't have your right observability in place, if something goes wrong, you're spending more time trying to troubleshoot what went wrong versus knowing right off the bat what is actually going on. So you can resolve, or you can follow the right process to automate that resolution, which might be a pipeline deployment.
Exactly.
So it's a lot of this is interweaved together, and it really comes down to building out this platform, an ideology of platform engineering, making sure it all works before you decide you want to roll out to production. Because once you have a platform out there and you're operating in production, you don't want a lot of things to go wrong, but you still want the ability to scale. You still want the ability to make changes as you need to without affecting the baseline operations.
Yeah, and I think like I really love your point about compliance because as a lot of companies are working with AI, there's a lot of compliance issues when it comes to data privacy laws, right? So, and of course, like compliance is not just like, limited to AI, but for a lot of other use cases. But primarily, like one of the things that I have personally seen here at this KubeCon is a lot of companies who are actually adopting platform engineering for AI workloads. Now, whether that means being able to directly deploy LLMs on private on-prem clusters, whether for any Gen AI workload, or of course, even having some integrations of AI within popular platform engineering projects like Batchcase. So, in fact, like one of the projects called KitOps, it's a newly introduced project into the CNCF landscape as sandbox project. And what it's trying to do is revolutionize how you can package together different workloads, AI workloads, because as you look at AI, it has a lot of moving pieces. So how you can efficiently package all of it together and then deploy it in a on-prem or like let's say in a cloud-hosted environment, which again could be used for things. And of course, within AI, there are a lot of other aspects in it. There's like networking, observability. They are also like very important aspects of the platform. So, do you mind also like giving a very quick introduction to what Kuma does, because we are standing in front of the Kuma booth?
Yeah, very briefly, Kuma is a service mesh which provides multi-workload environment connectivity, security policy, and even observability as well. So if you think service mesh, except very flexible, very easy to use, very easy to manage, that's what Kuma is. Now, to add to your point about the compliance bit, right? Everyone builds in APIs. Everyone builds an API, micro APIs, macro APIs, and they're all consumed in various ways. And if you also think about it, LLMs offer up an API as well.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is when it comes to compliance, there are a lot of different challenges which organizations are facing today, right? You have teams that are just consuming models in the cloud, like ChatGPT, like cloud, without really any sort of governance model in place.
Exactly.
So what ends up happening is you have a lot of data leakage. You have some PII leakage as well. And that is a risk. That is a huge risk to an organization, because not only are you putting the risk of putting their customers at risk, but you're also leaking potential IP into an environment where you shouldn't be. So there are systems in place, there are technologies in place that do a number of things. One, that observability bin understands each of those LLMs we call. Maybe we're doing something like RAG, retrieval augmented generation, and we're hitting each one of those LLMs to get that perfect answer and response. But sometimes we need that insight as to why something is taking so long. Why is this one model taking longer than that model to give us that answer? So this is where something like OpenTelemetry might come in and solve that problem for us. And this needs to be instrumented, whether you're doing this inside of your environment or in the cloud or both, in a pipeline. But the next part of it, of that governance model, is how do you ensure that you're using AI correctly, or you're using these models correctly? You might be in a situation where you're using an on-prem model to preserve your costs and cut down on your usage overall. And this might be for day-to-day tasks. This might be for sourcing information locally that you might have stored in a local database. But then you might access models in the cloud for some deeper intention, for some deeper thought, for that ability to know deeper context so that you can actually infer what might be going on at a much more deeper sense.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, you might use something like an AI proxy or an AI gateway to solve for that problem, where you might send and load balance some of your workload requests to a lower end model that's living on premises, and then some of your more intense requests go up to the cloud.
Yes.
And then at the same time, that same AI technology is also solving for the problem of let's make sure we sanitize the data before we send it externally. Because the last thing we need is IP leakage.
And I think, like, just to probably add to your point about being able to have that AI gateway, another aspect of this is also that if you're deploying on-prem models, you should have very robust scanning of the model itself, because you never know if you're like downloading a model from Hugging Face, you're never too sure whether it is compliant. Now, of course, Hugging Face might be doing their own bit of scanning the model, but there are now platforms in play like those which can automatically also then scan your model for you, and no matter where your model originates, can get detailed reports on if there are some vulnerabilities within the model. Because I think the vulnerability side of things needs to be taken care of both on the model side as well as you very rightly mentioned on the API gateway layer.
Yeah, so Docker Hub is very much like use at your own risk.
Exactly.
But they've matured.
Yeah.
And Hugging Face is at that stage, use at your own risk.
Yeah.
If you're consuming your models through something like LM Studio, they put that disclaimer there for a reason.
Exactly.
Because there might be something dangerous
Yeah.
that has been trained by that model, and now you don't know if you're actually leveraging a hallucinated response from that model, which actually might lead to inaccuracies in data output
Exactly.
when you're consuming
So
that.
that is why I think, like, there is also need, like need for AI gateways, there is need for platforms that can truly not only like ensure that only people who have signed, like having signed, like you have signed containers. So we should have
Signed LLM.
Signed LLM, right?
Yeah.
That's what KitOps basically does. You can sign your models and then deploy them. So you have model scanning, all those capabilities built into this project, and of course it's a new project within the CNCF, which I think is a really good step moving towards defining specifications for secure AI. Because of course we are seeing a lot of projects like Uma, or for that matter like other projects within the ecosystem that are handling the other aspect of observability as well. But yeah, I think we had a great discussion, all the way moving from on-prem deployments to platform engineering. But thank you so much, Marino. It was lovely.
Thank you, Shivay. Appreciate it. Cheers, everyone.